Let me ask you something honestly. When you swung your legs off the bed this morning, did the room sway for a second before settling? When you sat down to eat lunch, were your toes still cold inside 2 pairs of socks? When you finally lay down last night, did your calves feel like someone had quietly poured wet sand into them all afternoon? If you nodded at any of those questions and you're somewhere past the age of 60, please don't tuck these signs into the same drawer where you've been filing things away as just getting older. Your circulation is trying to have a conversation with you, and the language it speaks is exactly what you've been feeling. My name is Dr. Pardip, and after spending many years working with patients whose vascular health was either thriving or quietly falling apart, I've learned that what sits on your kitchen counter often matters more than what sits in your medicine cabinet. Today we're going to walk through 7 cooking oils that peer-reviewed research has connected to healthier arteries. And I'll save the most powerful idea for last: a pairing of 2 specific oils taken first thing in the morning that in my clinical experience accomplishes more for blood flow together than either one accomplishes alone. Before we begin, do something small for me. Type a single word in the comments, either spinning, freezing, or sinking, depending on whether your most stubborn symptom is dizziness on standing, persistent coldness in your hands and feet, or that exhausting sense of weight in your legs by evening. Those single words tell me more than long messages ever could, and they directly shape what I cover in upcoming videos. Here's something I want you to truly absorb. Circulation issues almost never strike like lightning. They unfold the way moss creeps across a forgotten stone wall, slowly, patiently, year after year. Beneath the surface of your skin, low-level inflammation has been quietly nibbling at the inner walls of your arteries. Vessels that once flexed like elastic bands have started behaving more like garden hoses left out in winter, rigid and reluctant. As blood movement gets less efficient, your brain receives slightly less oxygen than it needs. Your heart has to push harder against rising resistance, and your hands and feet end up at the back of the line for nutrients. The result is the very symptoms you've learned to dismiss. But here is what generally gives me hope every day in my practice. Your blood vessels remain alive, alert, and responsive. They listen to what arrives in your bloodstream after every meal. Specific dietary fats, used wisely, can soothe inflammation, repair the delicate cellular wallpaper inside your arteries, and gradually return circulation closer to the rhythm it had decades ago. So as we go through today's list, glance over at your stovetop and consider what's been seasoning your food for the past 10 or 20 years. For half a century, an entire generation was told to fear all fats and was nudged toward bottles of cheap factory oils with smiling labels. Many of those choices have done quiet damage to vascular linings, and replacing them is one of the most powerful gifts you can give your future self. Beginning at number 7, we have sesame oil. This humble bottle has flavored kitchens across Asia for thousands of years, but it tends to be overlooked in modern Western pantries. What sets sesame oil apart are 2 unique compounds called sesamin and sesamolin, which behave like vigilant gatekeepers along your arterial walls, intercepting the kind of cellular wear and tear that eventually leads to plaque. Picture the inside of an artery as the surface of a still lake at dawn. Antioxidants in sesame oil work to keep that surface glassy and undisturbed, while oxidative stress is the wind that creates ripples and turbulence. The smoother that lining stays, the easier blood travels through it. Sesame oil also tolerates moderate heat reasonably well, making it a sensible choice for light pan cooking. Just remember, it's still a fat-dense food, so a daily intake of around 1 to 2 tablespoons is plenty. At number 6 is avocado oil, which I find slips into a heart-friendly lifestyle with almost no friction. The dominant fat here is oleic acid, a monounsaturated fat that behaves like a quiet diplomat in the bloodstream. When oleic acid steps in to replace damaged refined oils or excess sugary calories, harmful LDL cholesterol generally drifts downward while protective HDL holds steady. Imagine your arteries as a vintage leather belt. Damaged fats stiffen and crack the leather. Oleic acid restores its softness and pliability. Avocado oil also has a notably high smoke point, meaning it doesn't fall apart under the heat of roasting or searing. And that resilience matters because broken down oils generate the very inflammatory compounds we're trying to avoid. For older adults dealing with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, avocado oil offers an additional gift, helping stabilize blood sugar swings that otherwise contribute to vascular stress. Coming in at number 5 is virgin coconut oil. And yes, this one tends to spark debate, so allow me to be balanced. Coconut oil is rich in medium-chain triglycerides, fats that the liver treats like quick-burning twigs rather than slow-burning logs. Think of the difference between newspaper and a wet log thrown into a fireplace. The newspaper gives up its energy fast and clean. That metabolic difference matters for circulation because excess fat storage and insulin resistance silently fuel vascular inflammation. Used in modest amounts, virgin coconut oil has been associated with a gentle rise in protective HDL, the cholesterol that acts like the cleanup crew ferrying excess LDL away from your arterial walls. Because it remains stable when heated, it produces fewer harmful byproducts during cooking than many highly refined oils. That said, it's still saturated fat, so I generally recommend keeping intake to about a teaspoon a day for older adults focused on cardiovascular health. At number 4 sits black garlic oil, which is a beautiful example of how patient food preparation can elevate a simple ingredient into something therapeutic. Black garlic is created by aging fresh garlic for weeks under careful warmth and humidity, transforming its sharpness into a deep, almost balsamic richness, while dramatically multiplying its antioxidant content. One particularly important compound that emerges is S-allylcysteine, which neutralizes the oxidative chaos inside aging blood vessels. Imagine cold winter wind whipping at the windows of your home. Black garlic oil acts like a layer of weather stripping along the frame, blocking the relentless damage. Research suggests it can gently lower LDL cholesterol while encouraging blood vessels to widen ever so slightly, which directly improves blood flow to chilly fingers, numb toes, and tired calves. Because of its concentration, treat it like a finishing oil rather than a cooking oil. Drizzle it into a salad, blend it into a yogurt dip, or stir it into a finished bowl of soup just before eating. At number 3 is flaxseed oil, the undisputed plant world champion of omega-3 fats. Flax oil delivers an exceptional concentration of alpha-linolenic acid, a fat that essentially functions as a fire crew for chronic inflammation inside aging arteries. Picture a row of warning lights inside your blood vessels that have been blinking steadily for decades. Omega-3s are what finally turn those lights off. By calming the slow burn that hardens vessel walls, flaxseed oil helps your endothelium, the thin inner skin of every artery, return to a more responsive state. Blood becomes less sticky, clotting tendencies become better regulated, and circulation gradually flows more smoothly. There is one absolutely firm rule, however. Never expose flaxseed oil to heat. Heating destroys those fragile fats and creates byproducts that work against you. Stir it cold into yogurt, mix it into oatmeal after it's off the stove, or whisk it into salad dressings, and store the bottle in your refrigerator at all times. At number 2 is extra virgin olive oil, perhaps the most thoroughly researched dietary fat in cardiovascular medicine. Decades of work across Mediterranean populations have shown that those who consume it daily face significantly lower rates of heart disease, in some analyses by nearly 40%. The magic isn't only in its monounsaturated fats, but in its extraordinary cargo of polyphenols, plant compounds that quiet vascular inflammation, shield LDL cholesterol from oxidation, and protect the inner lining of arteries like a soft layer of armor. When LDL stays in its calm, unoxidized form, it's far less likely to lodge itself in arterial walls and start the slow accumulation of plaque. Olive oil is also remarkably versatile. Light cooking preserves much of its benefit, but it shines brightest when used unheated, drizzled across roasted vegetables, swirled into a bowl of beans, or finished over fish. For most older adults, 1 to 2 tablespoons per day is the sweet spot, and consistency matters more than dramatic doses. And now, at number 1, I want to introduce you not to a single oil, but to a partnership that has changed how I counsel patients in their 70s and 80s. When chia seed oil meets extra virgin olive oil, something genuinely complementary unfolds inside your blood vessels. Chia seed oil delivers a concentrated stream of plant-based omega-3s that reduce vascular inflammation and gently lower the thickness of your blood. Olive oil contributes its polyphenols, which support nitric oxide signaling, the body's natural way of telling arteries when to widen. One mechanism puts out the fire, the other opens the windows. Picture an old wooden door swollen shut by years of humidity. Olive oil is the sanding that smooths the frame, and chia oil is the oil that loosens the hinges. Together, they let the door swing freely again. The ritual is wonderfully simple. Each morning, stir 1 teaspoon of chia seed oil and 1 teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil into a mug of warm water with a small squeeze of fresh lemon. The warmth supports absorption, the lemon aids digestion, and the entire ritual takes less than half a minute. For older adults dealing with cold extremities, fatigue in the legs after walking, or the early signals of declining peripheral circulation, this small daily habit can quietly reshape the vascular landscape over the course of weeks and months. Now, allow me to share a few honest words about how to use these oils correctly, because excellent ingredients can be wasted by careless practice. High heat frying oxidizes even the most virtuous oil, transforming an anti-inflammatory friend into a pro-inflammatory enemy. Cook gently whenever possible and use oils raw whenever the dish allows. Storage is another silent factor that most people miss. These oils should live in dark glass bottles, away from sunlight and ideally away from the heat radiating off your stove. Resist the temptation to use more than necessary. 1 to 2 tablespoons across the day is the gentle ceiling for most adults. And steady daily use beats occasional generosity every single time. Meanwhile, please become quietly skeptical of the oils silently undermining millions of older adults. The heavily refined soybean, corn, and industrial canola oils that fill packaged snacks, restaurant fryers, and products dressed up in healthy-sounding labels carry an inflammatory burden that ages your arteries faster than almost anything else in modern eating. Reused fryer oil is particularly destructive, and vague terms like light or cholesterol-free are often clever camouflage for some of the most processed oils on the shelf. Look instead for the words cold-pressed, unrefined, or extra virgin. So here is my invitation to you. Choose just one oil from today's list that hasn't yet entered your kitchen. Perhaps the flaxseed, the black garlic, or the chia and olive oil morning ritual. Use it consistently for 1 full week. Then notice your body. Are your legs lighter on the evening walk? Is your mind crisper at the breakfast table? Are your hands warmer when you reach for the doorknob? Those quiet shifts are your circulation answering back. Come back here and share your story in the comments. Your experience may be exactly what another viewer needs to read tonight. If today's message reached you, please share it with someone over 60 who deserves to feel stronger and more alive. And subscribe to the channel for more grounded, evidence-based guidance built for our seasoned ears. I'm Dr. Pradip, and I'll see you in the next conversation.